Well, I start off by introducing you as, and going by your stage name as Big Jungle, not just as a recording artist, but also as a producer, engineer, and record executive as well. In this series about Must Be the Music, what's going to be great is that many people know music from what they see on TV and what they consume, but what's it like being in the industry, and the journey it's taken to get there is going to be one of the fascinating things that a lot of people would be really keen on. What I haven't shared to many people is that when people talk about cousins and brothers and stuff, we're from the same village. That's a rarity. Your family's from the royal family of our town, and our town is actually in Inri. Agukunri is for the Igbo community. That's the cradle of the Igbo civilization and royalty. So being part of the royal family of the royal tribe of the Igbos is a massive achievement and stuff. But we also went to high school together too. So there's a lot in there. So yeah. But as I said, yeah, but what would be good, I think, before we get to where you are now and where you guys going to, I think it's good to start your journey, because part of your music is influenced by your background and where you're from, and it's just good to hear the story of how life was back in the early days before you moved to where you are now.
Damn. Like taking it all the way back, yeah.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, and it's good. I think it's good to hear the beginning, and just because the stories of people's stories will fascinate, and then people can realize, if you started in a place where being where you are now wasn't on the table, then it's like, okay, there's hope for the rest of us. But you can go back as far as you want. You can go back as far as you want, but ideally, linking into Nigeria, just because that in itself is has its rich heritage.
Okay. We're gonna take it all the way back then. We started off in Zambia. That's where I was born. I was born in Zambia.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I was born in Zambia because dad was in London. So from London in School of Accounting, I think something popped up and moved to Zambia. So that's where me and my older brother, were born in Zambia.
Okay.
So, and a lot of people were in Zambia back then. In fact, a matter of fact, to be honest with you, I think my dad was one of the first people that went to Zambia, because he was working for some company in Zambia called what's that company called again? Indigo.
Okay.
It's a company called Indigo. For people who are from Zambia, once you say that company, it will definitely pop up. It's like a government. It was like a government company, and I think it's still there till today. That they were like in charge of like the major construction for the country. So. Okay. Finances came from there, and my dad was an accountant, so he was running that there. Okay. So that's where it all started from. So we were born in Zambia, then moved back to Lagos. I think probably in the early, maybe the late 80s, or the late 70s. Okay. Late 70s, maybe I think somewhere no, not even late. Maybe because my brother was born in Lagos in 75. My younger brother was born in 75. So I think we'll probably go back to Lagos maybe in 70, 74, maybe that's 75. No, he was born 76, so I think we'll go back 75. Okay. 74, 75. So he went back to Nigeria to get, I think there was a company, there was a friend of his that he went to school with in London. In the school there, and then I think they had some position in Cadbury Nigeria Limited. So that's where he moved from Zambia to Cadbury, was heading the financial department there. Then ended up in Nigeria, in GRA, Lagos, Ikeja. Went to Grange International. Okay. school called Grange International, right there behind Country Club. So
Okay.
that's where we was. And actually at Ijaniki, I think one of the principal's daughter actually went to Ijaniki too. Emma Taylor, she went to Ijaniki too. So okay, yeah. So from there, moved back to Lagos. So we're there in Lagos, in Grange, and the influence of music, I would say, came right at that time, because when we were in Grange, my dad was he was very into listening to music. Like, it was his thing. Like, it was something that you would kind of notice him getting ready for it throughout the whole week. Because Sundays was his day. He loved to play tennis, so Country Club was down the street. So he would play tennis almost every day. He would play tennis, but Saturdays and Sundays, when we go to church, he'll go play tennis. By the time we're coming back from church, and after church, the moms will take you out to go visiting. Before you know, you're driving around the whole of Lagos, visiting this aunt and that aunt and that aunt.
Yeah.
So those were his times to just sit down, and he'll just be in the house, just listening to music for like hours and hours and hours, just rocking in the chair. So I could notice a certain peace, a certain peace with this thing, this ritual that he will always do. So that's how I kind of gravitated towards actually liking music as just something that I was drawn to.
What was he listening to? Because what kind of music? What kind of artist?
He listened to a lot of Boney M.
Okay, yeah, my dad had those vinyls. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of Boney M. There was a lot of influence from South Africa too.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember the artist, but there was a lot of South African music going on. There was a lot of Marvin Gaye, a lot of Stevie Wonder, a lot of Gladys Knight, and then some other records. Maybe I didn't know who they were at that time.
Yeah. And was it vinyl he was using, or tapes?
Yeah, vinyl. It was
vinyl.
all vinyl.
Okay.
And he had this little cabinet in the living room, right, where that was practically the only thing that he would lock. That cabinet was always locked. You could always tell he would lock it and go keep the key somewhere. I knew where the key was, but you could tell like, that was like a no-go area.
Yeah.
So those are the good days. And then there was a little bit of influence in Grange too, because there was a lot of theater going on there, a lot of stage plays, and at that time my class, we hadn't yet started doing our stage play. I think you had to get to a certain grade before you started getting on stage and performing. But I noticed that, and I was drawn to that, theater and performance and all that. So I think it was in primary 4, primary 5. There was that tragic accident that my dad died in Nigerian Airways. That was I think that was the first major plane crash.
Yeah, it was massive news around the country. Yeah, and it was going to Enugu, the flight?
It was going to Enugu, yeah.
So a lot of prominent Igbos were
there were a lot of prominent Igbo people. There were a lot of prominent people. There were a lot of I think there were 1 or 2 economists on that flight. There were a lot of people on that.
Yeah, lots of prominent. Yeah, so there's lots of anyway. I mean, politics, and it's one thing I try to get away from, especially tribal politics in Nigeria. But it was. Yeah, we all knew about it, not just because it was prominent from our town, but yeah.
It was. I think it was. Not. I think it was. 28th of November, 1983. There was. Me and my brother were at lesson. There was this lesson that a lot of people used to go to in Jerry, and I think the lady's son went to IJ too, Wednesday, Emeka Wednesday. Okay. His mom had this lesson somewhere in Jerry by Kingsway. Okay. By Kingsway in Jerry, there was a lesson she had. So we're at lesson. That's where we got the news.
Oh goodness. Like
it was. I think the lesson was almost over, and people started talking about some plane crash, blah 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 blah, and then we heard about it, and my mom came to pick us up, and we told my mom, and then she rushed to go see the lady.
Wow.
Yeah, And it was so crazy because it wasn't a planned trip. It wasn't something that was a pre-planned. It was something that I think happened the day before, or like, oh, you have to go do this real quick, blah, 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 and I'll be right back. And right back turned to never coming back.
Wow.
So that kind of that kind of like really set a very how I put this because I didn't expect that. I saw him just before he left. I think I even told him not to go, something like that. Like, don't go, don't leave, blah blah. He was like, I have to leave, I'll be back, blah blah. And then that happened. So it kind of really hit me very, very hard.
Wow.
Hit me very, very hard. Even till now, I still have flashbacks of it because, you know, I don't know if to say maybe I never really recovered from it because it really hit me hard. And I think after that, I started getting a little bit of anxiety after that, just a little bit after that. But at that time, I probably didn't know that what it was, but I think that.
Yeah.
And then so we you know, we just picked up the pieces and just kept him moving. But there was always still that influence, you know, because I think there was a house he was building at that time, and you know, he bought a couple of musical instruments here and there in hopes that probably somebody or maybe everybody else would get up into it or something. So there was always that influence still there. So it never really, after that, it kind of like died, you know. I kind of like forgot about the whole music thing. It wasn't really, because there was no avenue, you know, no avenue there. And with the situation of things at times, my mom now became, you know, a widow and picking up the pieces and things, moved around a bit in Lagos. And then in 1986, that's when I think IBB was in power then. And then, in 86, and then that's when he created Katsina and Akwa Ibom State. And my mom decided to move to Akwa Ibom State.
Oh, okay.
In 1986, so moved to Akwa Ibom. Before then, in '83, when my dad had passed, in '84, that's when we got into secondary school. First of all, then I went to Federal Jos. I was in Federal Jos for 2 years. First of all.
Okay. Yeah.
And then after Federal Jos, that's when I got into Janike. Yeah. So then after '86 came around, and my mom said move to Uyo. We moved to Uyo, and then in '88, that's when we caught that case in the Janike. Me, Tunde Adesoya, Nabo Ekio, and Yaya Musa. There was some shit that came down, and everyone was dispersed at that time. I think I went to Federal IK from there, from Janike. Went to Federal IK. So I actually went to 3 federal government colleges,
wow.
two or 3 years in a couple, 2 years here and there.
Yeah.
So went to Federal IK, and then from Federal and got into University of Uyo.
But before university, though, I mean, because, and I remember you at Janike and stuff. But I'm just wondering, what with the tragic news about your dad, how did that affect you? Just your outlook and maybe and how you sort of took to authority or took to life in general. Did you was it a difference, you think?
To be honest, when he passed, it was like I said, it really hit me hard because I was somewhat close to him, and I looked up to him as the person who, you know, I looked up definitely as a protector, but I think I was more closer to him than my mom, you know. So when that happened, I kind of like, even at that age, I was like, look, I have to show strength. I don't have to show weakness. I have to. That's why I don't think I even cried at them.
Wow.
I don't think I cried at all throughout because I didn't want anybody to look at me like I was being weak, being soft. So I didn't even cry at that time. So it kind of took a toll because from there a lot of a lot of things happened here and there. A lot of people came out of the woodworks. You know what I mean? Once that person is not there, a lot of things will come out and try and take control, and just different things happen here and there, which, I mean, I could go into, but I really don't.
But I'm just checking how as a teenager, without your dad, your sort of your rock and mentor not being there, how did that influence affect you in school and just general life?
It affected me a lot because I was constantly looking for, that person or that figure. So I was making friends easily.
Okay.
I was making friends easily, just moving around, because I never really had a mentor. I've never had a mentor in life. I've never had like an older figure, because my brother is just like 18 months older than me. So there's not that much of a gap to say that, oh, this is my big brother. Most of the time, people don't even know we're brothers. They think we're friends, and times they may look at it like I'm not. You know, they don't look at me like the younger brother, because we're in the same age grade. We're doing the same, having the same friends and all that. So I've never really had that person that looked out for me coming up. Everything I've learned in life is like trial and error for me. Like trial and error. I never had that person that said, okay, come on, I'm gonna take you under my wing and you knucklehead, I'm gonna show you how to do this. Everything I did was just trial and error. So most of the time it was always error. But then you fall and fail and get up and move again. You know, and I never really had nobody that really taught me how to do anything.
And I'm sure you'd have uncles and stuff, but I think if people aren't aware of sort of the Nigerian culture, unless it's your dad's younger brother, older brother who's really tight and says, I'm going to take you on board, it's very hard for an uncle to step in and try and be like a father, because they're very much, the relationships we had back in those days I wouldn't lean too much to understanding what you might have been going through, and being understanding, being patient, and being loving and encouraging, because that's not how the men were back in those days. I'm hoping that there's a change. So as I said, you might have had uncles, but they might not have given you the sort of support that you probably would have been looking for, that could be replicated by your dad.
I did have an uncle.
Okay.
I did have an uncle who was like my dad's younger brother, but it was quite the opposite for me. You know, I got the brute end of things. You know, I was always I don't know whether to say I was always what's the word to use? I was always that one that was black sheep. I wouldn't say black sheep, because black sheep is more like you're causing trouble, you're always in trouble, you're causing this. I was just the one that probably they didn't just really understand, or they didn't really know how to approach me, because I was more of bold. I was very bold for my age, and maybe it didn't rub some people the right way. So I would always get the negative end of things, you know. And at one point in time, there was a point in time, I think there was a point in time it was oh man, like 2 times. I think it was my cousin, my brother was somewhere, something happened, and you know, my cousin said something or I said something, and I stood up to him, but I think he didn't like it. He punched me dead in the face, you know. And yeah, like, he was way bigger than me, you know, like way bigger than me. But I was just so bold for my age. I didn't know when to, like, you know, I had no chill. So he punched me in the face, and, you know, I think I was bleeding, almost broke my nose and shit. And my brother was there. My brother didn't do anything. You know, didn't say anything. I know maybe he was probably like, oh, he's not going to say anything or whatever. But, you know, I was always just that person, you know, that always got the brute end of things, you know, I just don't know why, you know. I don't know if I intimidated them or, you know.
Well, I'm a child psychotherapist, and if I had to have a child who has lost their dad in tragic circumstances, move into and especially since you grew up in a different country, you've moved in and you've got a lot of this thing, we would look to understand how, you know, you didn't cry, you know, so we'll be concerned. But you know, but then coming from that Nigerian side, I can just imagine where it's toughen up, get over it, move on. And I can see why it would have been challenging for you, and why so many of us, and I'm saying us because when I met you in school, it was like, wow, this guy is just, you know, bold and, you know, lawless and stuff. And when everyone is,
I was very aggressive.
Yeah, and so it was like, wow, this guy is on another planet. But, you know, whether we knew the background or not, we just couldn't understand, because culturally that wasn't in our DNA to understand empathy and the trauma and understand that. It's like, come on, we fight through it. But then, despite all this, I mean, so you go to university and stuff, and how did you eventually sort of forge your way out of Nigeria and stuff? Was that a joint decision? Your fat mum, or your brother, did you just say, you know, I'm out? What was the transition?
There was, like I said, there was always that influence of rap. Okay, it started with music. Like I said, music was always an influence for me. You know, my dad had a lot of music. My uncles who had a lot of music. His son had a lot of tapes. So I was just, you know, I was always so infatuated with it. But I was listening to more of funk that time. I was more of a funk, listening to more funk. And
so who would be you talking about Gap Band, George Clinton, or Bootsy Collins? What were you think?
Yeah, there was some George Clinton, there was some Rockwell,
okay.
There was some Rockwell, there was some Alexander O'Neal.
Yeah.
I liked what's this dude? I forgot this dude's name. There was a lot of pop and a lot of rock and a lot of funk in there. But I think and rap was the rap I was listening to then was, you know, it was just Fat Boys and LL Cool J, and they were a little bit too soft for me.
Okay. Yeah.
They were a little bit too soft for me. I listened to them here and there. But I think the influence of rap came one day. My brother played NWA one day.
Okay.
And I was like, wow. I was like, so people could speak like this, like people could talk like this on a record. There was even a point, like I told him to turn it down. We're in the house, but I told him to turn it down. Like, folks to hear that. There was nobody in the house but us. But, so I kind of gravitated towards. That's when I kind of gravitated towards gangster rap and hardcore hip hop, because of my state of mind at that time. Yeah. I'd been through a little bit of trauma. You know, and I had lost my innocence. I started being very aggressive. And I think it was because of something that happened when I was younger, especially at Ijaniki. Ijaniki, that's where I started getting into trouble. The first suspension, I was suspended maybe like 4 or 5 times. You know, but the first time I was suspended was because I put a swastika sign. And the only reason I put a swastika sign on my shirt was because that's how I wanted to that's how I was gonna, how do you say it? You know, then they used to, your parents would write your names on the collar of your shirt, and that wasn't fly. You know, that kind of, you know, people still looked at it like you're a little kid. You know, they're still writing names on your shirts. You know, you're still a little boy. So I picked the sign to like use and say that, okay, that's how I'll identify my clothing. I put it on my white shirt, I put it on my check shirt, I put it on just by the pocket. Not knowing what the sign. Not knowing what the sign was about. I didn't know what it is myself. Yeah, I didn't know what it is, but we had watched a lot of movies like Wild Geese. And all those movies. So I kind of thought that, okay, you know, that's hype. That's a hype sign. But I didn't know the whole Nazi and all that behind it. I didn't know nothing about that. So I think we're in JS3 in Janiki, and Aloy is our principal there. Remember Aloy?
yeah.
So I go to the restroom, and I think that day the permanent secretary of education comes around. So I think that day they're going from class to class, looking around, talking to people. And then for some reason, when she's coming around to go to the classes, that's when I go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom. I said, let me go to the bathroom real quick before they come to my bathroom. When I go to the bathroom, they come to the class.
Whoa.
So they come to the class, everybody's, they talk to everybody's like, so I walk back and say, well, yes, I was in the bathroom. I'm sorry, I went to use the bathroom. So when I turn around to talk to her and I say I was using the bathroom, I turn around to walk back to my seat. She says, what's that on your shirt? Come here. She said, what's that swastika sign? I say, swastika. I say, I didn't even know it was called a swastika. So she's like, what's that swastika sign? I said, no, it's a sign I use to identify my clothes. So if they steal my shirt, I can know it's mine. Like, really? Why didn't you put your name? Are you a German spy? Do you work for Hitler? Blah, 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 blah. And that's how she looked at the permanent secretary and like, I think I'm going to give him 2 weeks to go home. That's how I got my first suspension.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
That's how I got the first suspension. So me going home, I'm going home. I'm like, well, I mean, you know, because it was a really big thing to get suspended.
Yeah, I mean, so that's
anyway. But I'm looking at it like I have a valid reason. Like I didn't know. I just used this to like. So I was like, okay, cool. So I go home and I tell my mom, and then they sent me out to go see my uncle to go speak to me about it. I go see my uncle. Now this guy whips me so hard.
Wow.
He whips me so hard. He whips me so hard. So that's where I started getting that. You know, he whips me so hard. At times I still remember that whipping.
Wow.
You know, that whipping was an ass whipping. That was a whipping that till today I'm still vexed about that whipping, to tell you how much I remember that. You know what I'm saying? Whipped me really, really, really hard. So after then, that's when I started getting aggressive, and you know, that's when I started getting. I was like, look, I have to protect. I have to appear bold so people won't try and you know, come at me in any type of way. So that's where when I now heard NWA, that's when I now said, oh, this is some way I can express myself and rap. So that's where the actual influence of the hardcore and the hip hop rap came in. Some people used to look at me back then like, this dude is crazy. You know, that's what led to it. So finished school, IK. When I finished in IK, I was like, I want to do music. That's what I want to do. But I didn't know, I didn't know what part or where I would fit in. Because back then, if you say you wanted to do music, they'll look at you like, okay, you probably want to rap or sing. You know, which they'll look at you like ludicrous then, which I can understand, but there's so many other aspects, like, you know, I could have, you know, because we didn't know, we didn't research, you could have still done audio engineering then, or... Yeah,
but I mean, I think when you think of a career in music in Nigeria, it was, you had established Sunny Ade, Onyeka Onwenu, who were, you know, and they sang music for your parents. So we would listen to Heavy D, or, you know, Heavy D and the Boys, or... it escapes me now, you know, The Barge and stuff, those types of feel-good sort of movies and songs, but you never think you'd ever sing or perform those ones. And the Nigerian scene at that point was very much your parents would buy the stuff. You teenagers or even people in college wouldn't go out and buy Nigerian music. You would buy what was happening in the States. So if you wanted to get in the industry, it's like, well, you're too young. Maybe when you're 50, you can go play alongside Sunny Ade or Fela. But you were saying
not the norm.
Yeah, it's not the norm. But you were saying that in your head, you thought, you know what, I really actually want to get a career in this.
Yes, at that point in time, I had already made up my mind that this is what I want to do. But I didn't know, you know, I didn't know what part, you know, and at that part, probably the next thing to do was, you know, get a guidance counselor or somebody
Yeah.
who's into it, and they'll now find out what area. But where we from?
Yeah,
They
good
try
luck to that. Yeah. No, of
You
course
know,
not.
so I think it kind of like it was an issue between me and my mom. She was like, "No, you have to go to university, you have to go to college." I said, "Yeah, I can do that, but can I do that? Can I go to music college? Do they have a music college I can go to?" But, you know, it's not something that was looked at then. So went to first of all, went to APU briefly, then went to the University of Rio. Even in University of Rio, I kind of like stood out because I was always I had a lot of rap tapes, you know, I had maybe about 200 tapes.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, because I had this friend in the East, then I went to his crib one time, and at that time, he had all the CDs I could think about. So I was like, "Oh, is it okay if I come and record some music? I just want to record one or two." He's like, "Yeah, come through." I said, "I can come tomorrow." I came the next day with like 20 tapes. Like 20. Dude looked at me like, "You want to record this whole track?" Like, yeah. So he was fascinated. Like, he had never seen somebody that would be like, "Oh, you want to record?" I said, "Yeah, I want to record it because I got to listen to it and blah, 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 blah." Dude was looking at me and say, "Okay, come." For like a week, I'll go to his house and record. So I'll take those tapes to Yale, University of Rio. The folks I would be living with, they'll look at me and say, "This dude, you're crazy. You know, you think you're gonna do this?" Because I mean, and I really didn't blame them because they didn't understand. You know, it was still in my mind. It was still in my mind, like, this is what I want to do. And at that point in time, it wasn't like I had any influence where I knew that I was gonna go here. Or at that time, I didn't even know I was gonna come to America. You know, but it was just in me right from time. I mean, there'll be some times I'll be back home in the East, and I'll be thinking like, at nighttime, what am I doing here? Like, I'm not meant to be here. Like, I know I'm meant to be somewhere in some studio or doing something somewhere, you know. At times I wouldn't even be able to sleep. So I think, you know, there was always that influence of going back and forth to London, because we had schooled in London earlier, coming up for like a couple of years.
Okay.
But I never really liked London. There was just something about it that it wasn't just clicking. You know, it wasn't just clicking. And back then I think back then what was really jumping there was actually a rave at that time called Jungle. I don't know if you remember, there was something in London. There was a rave at that time called
they had jungle music.
Yeah, jungle music.
Yeah, they had jungle music. Yeah.
So at that time, that was what was in London. Then I was like, no. This is I was like, no. I'm not. I cannot get with this right here.
Yeah.
So I would always have that. Thought about, okay, how am I going to get to America? I gotta get a visa, or I gotta find a way, or how is this gonna happen? So, you know, in Nigeria, it wasn't. I didn't really perform anywhere, or, you know, I think maybe I recorded one song, but it was whack. It wasn't anything. Some whack track. Yeah, my boy recorded here and there. So it wasn't like I had done anything in Nigeria, as in musically. You know, the influence was there and all that. So I think towards the ending of university, I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Am I going to just stay in London? You know, am I just going to go back and just make it work in London? And then something just told me, you know, just try and just get a visa to America and see what happens. So I tried so many ways. You know, back then there'll be so many people, "Oh, come, I'll help you. I know this person."
Yeah.
Give this person money, give that person money. You know, at one point in time, I got so upset. I got my monies back, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to London and meet up with a couple of my people there who were running some type of scheme that, okay, this is what we're gonna do to get you to America. I'm like, okay. Go out to London again. I'm out there. As soon as I get out there, we're out there for about 3 weeks. And then the person who's meant to come from America to London so we can now see what we're going to do, something happens and the person doesn't come again. Wow. I'm like, damn. So my moms and my brother, they're like, stay in London. What's what's going on in America? You're acting like America's the end. I'm like, look, man, that's where I gotta go to. That's where musically, if I really want to, I gotta go where they started the blues. You know, that's where it started. You know, it's not like music is not
universal, but I know there's something different about being in the States and how they do music. Yeah.
And that's where it's respected the most. You know, like a lot of artists, a lot of British artists who really wanted to, not like really wanted to, but some of them will actually leave to come out here to actually push their career further.
Yeah.
You know, not to say that there are not no big artists in London, because there are huge artists that don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
Artists. But I just wanted to just come out here, so I was like, okay, what am I gonna do? I was like, okay, cool. I'll just stay in London for a bit, work a bit, save up some money. I'll just go back to Nigeria and just go to the embassy and try and get a visa. If they give me, they give me. If they don't give me anything.
Okay.
Can you imagine? I went back to Nigeria and got to the embassy. It took like 5 hours to get into the American embassy.
Those days there was a queue. It was.
Yeah, stood out there for like 5 hours and then got into the embassy. And the lady in front of me just came from London that morning for the interview. And there was a dude behind me. So we get into the embassy, we pay for the embassy fees and all that. So I'm waiting for the interview. So they call everybody's number. I think my number was like 29. The lady in front of me was 28. The dude behind me was 30.
Yeah.
So they called 15, 16, 27. They don't call 28, they don't call 29, they don't call 30. They say 27, 31, 32, 30. So I'm almost getting paranoid there, like, what's going on? You know? I'm out here for like 5 hours now. They want to tell me like maybe they ain't gonna. So I'm already hot inside, but I'm calm. I'm hot inside, but I'm calm outside. So I walk over to the security post, where once you cross the security post, that's considered American soil because you're in the American embassy part. So I go there, I'm like, what's going on? They didn't call my number. The lady in front of me and the dude behind me, what's going on? Blah blah blah. So the military police guy there looks at me and says, what's going on? So I try to tell him, and he's like, what's my name? I tell him my name, and he looks at me with one look like really? I say, yeah. And then he's like, he shouldn't tell me this, but I should go and come back by 2 p.m. They've already given me the visa. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, come on now, like, don't play me like that. He's like, really, seriously, he heard my name. Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, nah. So I'm like, me and him are trying to go back and forth. Then one of the American ladies now hears what's going on, and she pops her head and says, what's going on? And I'll tell her, ma'am, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 blah. She's like, what's your name? I said, Victor. I said, Victor, what's your last name? I said, oh, yes. I said, yes. She said, okay, look, tell the lady in front of you and the dude behind you, you all should go and come back by 2 p.m. You got your 2-year visa to go to America. That's how I got the visa to go.
What?
They didn't even ask me what my name was.
Wow.
They didn't ask me my name. They didn't ask me what I'm going there to do.
Are you kidding me? So, I went to college, so I had to go to the embassy to, my college application to get, the visa and stuff. So back in those days, you had to get it had to be either you've gone on holiday and come back or college.
Holiday, come back, school.
Yeah, well, mine was college. So yours was just, I'm just going to go, give me a visa.
I promise you, the only thing I did was pay the visa fee.
Wow.
That's the most anybody asked me a question. Which visa fee? Paid the visa fee. Sat down. I'm like, okay. I'm out there praying, doing like 65 Hail Marys, 400 Our Fathers. I'm just out there. I get up in there and they don't even ask me like, what are you going there to do? What's your name? Where you coming from? Where you going? They don't ask me. So I go outside. I'm like, really? So I try to contain myself. I'm excited inside, but I'm containing myself so that they don't be like, oh, come back, we made a mistake. It's not you. I'm walking away and like, literally my eyes in the back of my head, watching to see if anybody's going to call me. They know it's a mistake, blah, blah, blah. So I rush out, go outside, I don't talk to anybody, and I go straight to Bar Beach. Sit down there, crack me a couple of stouts, and then go back there by 2 p.m. and lo and behold, they hand me over the visa.
Wow.
That's how I got in the States, man.
So now here you are, you've got the visa stuff. Now, did you have family in the States that you said, okay, come visit us here? Or did you have a plan once you get where you're going to go? Because I said, for me and most people, is you go to university, so you know where you're going to fly into. You have an uncle who would host you before you go. But for you, what was the plan? Okay, I've got the visa, what's next?
The plan now was, okay, because already, before I went there, I already made sure I had the visas from London. I already had it. So the plan was just go to London, stay for a bit, and then make my plan from there. Call who I was going to call in America and see how. That was the plan. I didn't know nobody in America. And it wasn't like I was, okay, I'm going to go here, or go there, or go there. I was like, nah, let me get out of Nigeria first. So I go back to London. I called one of my friends who had gone to university, but he was in Baltimore. I'm like, look, man. Okay, I think I've called him a couple of months before, like, look, I'm trying to get an American visa, blah, blah. Once I get it, I'm going to call you. He's like, okay, cool. And most of the time, they always think you're just talking.
Yeah, of course, yeah, definitely.
So I called him from London. I said, look, man, I'm in London. I got the visa, man. What's good? He's like, really? I'm like, really? He's like, you're ready to come now? I said, I'm ready to come now. What's up? He's like, okay. He's like, okay. He must have said like 5, 6, okay. And he was like, okay, just give me a couple of weeks. I said, how long do you need? I think he said a couple of weeks. Okay, I said, okay, I'll give you like 3 weeks and I'm there. Boom. And that's how I was in London for like 3 weeks a month. And that was in 2000. I got to London November 2002. November, I think like the 20th, 2002. That's when they had that really bad snowstorm in London.
Okay.
2002 going into 2003, they had a really bad snowstorm that cars were stuck outside. A whole lot of people were stuck outside. They hadn't had that type of snowstorm in London since then.
Okay.
2002 going into 2003, and then I left 2003 November the 9th.
Okay.
That's when I got to Baltimore first of all.